Hey everyone, and welcome to Studio Hours episode 5 on quitting. I was inspired to create this episode for a few reasons. The first being that I've started to learn a lot more about minimalism and how to bring simplicity into my life. And the second being that I recently read a book by Seth Godin entitled The Dip. And I'd like to read the first section of this book. It's a small book worth picking up at your local library to peruse. So you can understand both the dip itself and what I mean when I say quitting. So the book starts like this. I feel like giving up. Almost every day, in fact. Not all day, of course, but there are moments. My bet is that you have those moments too. If you're the kind of high-achieving, goal-oriented person who finds herself reading a book like this, you're probably used to running into obstacles. Professional obstacles, personal obstacles, even obstacles related to personal fitness or winning board games. Most of the time, we deal with the obstacles by persevering. Sometimes we get discouraged and turn to inspirational writing like stuff from Vince Lombardi. Quitters never win and winners never quit. Bad advice. Winners quit all the time. They just quit the right stuff at the right time. Most people quit. They just don't quit successfully. In fact, many professions and many marketplaces profit from quitters. Society assumes you're going to quit. In fact, businesses and organizations count on it. If you learn the systems that have been put in place that encourage quitting, you'll be more likely to beat them. And once you understand the common sinkhole that trips up so many people, I call it the dip, you'll be one step closer to getting through it. Extraordinary benefits accrue to the tiny majority of people who are able to push just a tiny bit longer than most. Extraordinary benefits also accrue to the tiny majority with the guts to quit early and refocus their efforts on something new. In both cases, it's about being the best in the world, about getting through the hard stuff and coming out the other side. Quit the wrong stuff, stick with the right stuff, and have the guts to do one or the other. So that's pretty interesting. It's an opposite take from what most people would say. But what does this mean for yarnpreneurs? Well, it's going to depend on your particular business and situation, but learning to evaluate the projects you take on, the business strategies you implement, and the results you achieve through this lens can be helpful. So we need to be able to look at aspects of our businesses and truly evaluate them based on our value system. So if it's really important for you to simply be creative and enjoy your work, maybe you continue to work on that project that's not yet bringing in revenue because it fulfills your value criteria. But if you need to pay the bills and your project is not doing that, it might be time to reevaluate and shift to something that will compensate you more. And this brings me back to the first reason I wanted to record this episode. I'm very interested in bringing simplicity into my life. When you begin evaluating your life and business through this lens, inevitably you find that you need to let some things go. So at that point, it becomes imperative that you know how to determine which projects should be kept and which you should quote unquote quit. And while the decision to remove something from your life might be hard, the idea behind this process is that it makes more room for the things you truly care about or the things that really help you grow. And yes, this process can be scary. How can you know that you're quitting the right things? But we have to do our best to put fear aside and evaluate based on the evidence before us and how we feel. We only have so much time to devote to each aspect of our lives, so if we think that instead of quitting something, we're making room for more of what we love and enjoy, then the whole equation is much more appealing. We can then more clearly prioritize and enhance the experiences and projects that we do partake in. So I hope this episode has given you some food for thought and encouraged you to be able to clearly evaluate projects when deciding if they're the right fit for you. Please share your thoughts in the group and let me know what you thought about this episode of Studio Hours.